In 1976, the quiet town of Chowchilla, California, was shaken by one of the most shocking crimes in U.S. history. A school bus full of children and their driver disappeared without a trace. What followed was a tale of terror, bravery, and an incredible escape. This is the story of the Chowchilla bus kidnapping. July 15, 1976, began like any other summer day in Chowchilla. A group of 26 children, aged 5 to 14, boarded their school bus, driven by Frank Edward Ed Ray, to head home after a day at summer school. But as the bus traveled down a rural road, the ordinary day turned into a nightmare. A van blocked their path, and armed, masked men emerged. In a matter of moments, the children and their bus driver were overpowered, their cries for help echoing in the silence of the countryside. The kidnappers quickly transferred their victims into two waiting vans, separating the group. As the doors slammed shut, the children were plunged into darkness, not knowing where they were being taken. For the next 11 hours, they were driven around in the hot, sweltering vans, their destination unknown. The air grew thick with fear and confusion as time dragged on. Their journey ended in a remote rock quarry, nearly 100 miles away in Livermore, California. The kidnappers had meticulously planned every detail of this horrific crime. As the vans came to a stop, the children and Ed Ray were forced out and led to an underground bunker, a hastily constructed prison made from a buried moving van. Inside, the space was cramped and suffocating. The kidnappers had left minimal food and water, making survival seem almost impossible. The kidnappers sealed the victims inside, leaving them to their fate. Hours passed, and hope seemed to fade as the reality of their dire situation set in. Meanwhile, the kidnappers made their demands. They sought a $5 million ransom from the state for the safe return of the children and their driver. Back in Chowchilla, parents and law enforcement were frantic. The entire town was gripped by fear and uncertainty. Every second counted as they awaited any word from the kidnappers. The kidnappers had orchestrated their plan with chilling precision, leaving little room for error. But they had underestimated the resilience of their victims. In the bunker, the children and Ed Ray fought to stay calm and hopeful. But as the hours passed, their situation grew more desperate. Ed Ray, a man of quiet strength, knew he had to act. He began inspecting the bunker, searching for any weak spot or possible escape route. With the help of the older children, Ed began digging, hoping against hope that they could find a way out before it was too late. For hours they dug with their bare hands, pushing themselves to the limit. Every scrape of dirt brought them closer to freedom. And then, after what felt like an eternity, a small glimmer of light broke through the dirt. They had done it. They had found a way out. One by one, they crawled through the narrow opening, emerging into the night air. They were free, but their ordeal was far from over. Exhausted and disoriented, the group began making their way through the quarry, desperately seeking help. Their prayers were answered when they were spotted by a nearby worker. Help was finally within reach. The worker led them to safety, where they were finally able to contact authorities. The nightmare was over, but the scars of the experience would remain. Back in Chowchilla, the news of their escape spread like wildfire. Parents were reunited with their children, their joy mixed with the trauma of what they had endured. Ed Ray was hailed as a hero, his bravery and quick thinking having saved the lives of those children. But the true story of that day was only beginning to unfold. As authorities pieced together the details, the magnitude of the crime became apparent. The kidnappers had meticulously planned one of the largest abductions in U.S. history. A massive manhunt was launched to track down the kidnappers. Law enforcement pored over every piece of evidence, determined to bring the culprits to justice. The FBI took charge, deploying all available resources to catch the men responsible for this heinous crime. Soon, the faces of the kidnappers were plastered on wanted posters across the state. The net was closing in on them. After days of intense investigation, law enforcement closed in on the kidnappers. They were found hiding in plain sight, confident their plan had been flawless.